Hello, everybody. Nice to see you and to welcome you. So I'm Arnaud Delatour from Hello Tomorrow, and there will be also Phil and Simon from Biocrop Science talking soon, and maybe also Marwan from Hello Tomorrow. I'm very happy to welcome you and to open this discussion with Biocrop Science, who have been our partner for quite some time already. Especially happy as with Hello Tomorrow we've defined the food and agriculture sector, so really building a sustainable food system as a big priority, not only a priority but also a big business opportunity, because in all the sectors that we identified, we've identified like the 3 or 4 biggest, largest opportunities, and definitely all the emerging technologies transforming the food and agro sector is where things will be happening in the next few years, not in 20 years, but really in the next few years. We really think that there will be as many new solutions than solutions that exist today. So it's a very exciting time for this sector. So this is really a priority for us. So again, exciting to have this discussion. And we don't want to be boring. It's the end of the day, so really feel free to chat in the chat, but also ask questions in the question. The question on your right side of your screen, you should have chat, questions, polls. So please ask any questions you think of in the questions, and also upvote the one you would like us to answer. And we will make sure that we answer all of them, or almost all of them, either during the discussion or at the end, but probably during the discussion. So please participate, make it interesting. Don't rely only on us. And thanks for joining on a Friday afternoon. Friday afternoon, no, it's because tomorrow in France it's a day off, but we are Tuesday. Sorry. So yes, I'm handing it over to you, Simon or Phil.
Well, thank you, Arnaud, and I'm beginning to think it's always Friday afternoon in France. Right, so appreciate everybody joining, and delighted to be back with the Hello Tomorrow team. After the success of our startup challenge last year, we're really thrilled that we're working together again this summer, and really excited for the conversation here and the challenge that we're going to run with you this summer around the future of food. The way this session is going to work for the next 50 minutes or so, I'm going to set the scene a little bit from a buyer perspective, where we're at, what we're thinking about, where we see agriculture going, and some of the topics that we're working on, which I hope will be of interest. My esteemed colleague, Simon Maishling, is with me, and he's going to talk in more detail about the specifics of the challenge and the opportunity that we're hoping to engage with, the next great startup in the space, and figure out ways to work with you and partner with you going forward. And then once you've heard from the two of us, as Arnaud said, we don't want this to be boring, very much looking forward to the dialogue. So a few short comments from us, and then we also have Raphael Dumas, who's our head of innovation sourcing for Biocrop Science, with us on the call today. And the three of us will be here to take any questions you have about what we're doing, what Bayer's doing, how the challenge works, be they tactical, be they strategic, whatever's on your mind as part of the conversation. So really just to sort of kick this off and set the stage, we've been thinking a lot within our research and within our sort of efforts around some of these larger trends that are driving agriculture. And they're sort of captured on the slide here, and they won't come as any surprise to this group, but really how the world is thinking about alternative energy sources, food security as a global problem, the shift in dimensions towards alternative proteins as we think about different and more sustainable meat sources, and really how digitization and e-commerce really could change the entire landscape of agriculture. And so with these megatrends in place, we at Bayer are actively working on a sort of strategy and approach to really think about how we can create a more consumer-driven, sustainable, and most importantly, transparent food system. And so all of these different pieces, very much outside of the core of the research expertise of an organization like ours, very grounded in biology and chemistry. These are whole new landscapes for us, and so it's really exciting to be part of the team that's really thinking about how we can jump into these new spaces. Now, at the same time, we're doing this against the backdrop of some really large challenges in modern agriculture. More people on the planet, greater demand for protein and more food needed, but at the same time, real pressure on our ecosystems from climate change or deforestation or just the sort of environment that we're operating in is constantly shifting around us. And so the idea of identifying solutions that not only drive innovation, but do it in a very sustainable and sort of appropriate way to sort of intensify what's going on in agriculture is really important for us. And that really is very manifested in the fact that as an organization, we've made some very significant sustainability commitments over the last year or so, which are captured on the slide here. And we internally, we talk about them as the 30-30-100, but it's really very concretely the fact that we look to reduce the impact of greenhouse gas emissions on agriculture by 30%, reduce the impact of crop protection by 30% with new technologies and different ways of using those technologies, and empower and benefit as an organization over 100 million smallholder farmers. Because when you look at agriculture as a global concern, smallholder farmers make up the majority of those individuals who are engaged in agriculture. So it's very important to us to have a strong focus on how we're creating solutions that not only work in large mega farms, here in the US or in South America, but also in the hands of smallholders in different parts of the world. And you'll also see from the slide here that we lined up these commitments very concretely with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And you'll hear a little bit more about that context from Simon in a minute. But really the idea of saying, really the point I'm trying to make is that the Sustainable Development Goals really give us a very concrete focus for our activities through the lens of sustainability, that not only do we have to think about innovation, but we have to think about it in this very sustainable way. And that's really what's helped us shape the conversation and shape the challenge that you're going to hear from Simon in a minute. The last thing I'd just like to say, just for the folks on the call here, is that of course at Bayer we are very focused on innovation, but we're almost even more focused on open innovation and external innovation. And that there is a lot. This is a busy slide, but really captures the fact that we believe very strongly that we can't do everything we aspire to do by ourselves. And so we look to partner and work with third parties around the globe in many, many different ways to really help drive our pipeline, but create those win-win environments and those win-win relationships with our partners. And we think about this both through the lens of incremental innovation, so those sort of, dare I say, smaller innovations that sort of help us keep up with where we're at, but also, and more in the context of this conversation and this challenge, what are those disruptive innovations? What's really going to help take the whole space and move it forward and really change the game for our pharma customers and consumers around the world? And on the right-hand side here, you'll see that also not only is the opportunities a little bit different, but how we do drive those interactions can be very different too, whether it's through funded research or a venture capital investment with our LEAPS group, or just strategic partnerships with universities or institutes, or in fact, crowdsourcing opportunities like the ones we're here today to talk to you about. So we really take a very open approach to open innovation, right? There's no one size fits all. There's no, direct sort of having to plug into a particular model. We're always open to folks' ideas about how we can work together in different ways, and that's part of what we're doing here. But obviously very excited that you've been able to join the call and hear a little bit about what we've been thinking about. So I think with that, I will turn it over to Simon. He's going to tell you a little bit more about the specific challenge that we're here to discuss.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks, Arno, for the introduction, and thanks, Phil, for setting the scene. So again, really excited to be here today and to talk to you a little bit about the challenge and give you some further insight on what we're looking for and the timelines and what's going to be happening. And to introduce the challenge, Phil's given you the big picture. And this year is very different to last year. Last year, we had a challenge very focused on our core technology. And this year, we're really stepping a bit further away. And it's really not just on agriculture, but it's really focused on food. And for us, from Bayer Crop Science, is much more focused on the consumer. So we've labeled this sort of three main consumer challenges in order to enhance the way that consumers choose food. And this is a really important topic for us. And you'll see on the right-hand side of this slide, you'll see some of the more specifics of what we're looking for. And Phil's mentioned the SDGs, and we're strongly linked to the SDGs. We're looking for things which will really help safeguard the planet and its inhabitants. And there are some examples there, and don't feel that's a limitation, those examples. They're just there to help your mind think, how do I fit in? So we're talking about greenhouse gases, we're talking about carbon footprint, we're talking about irrigation or fertigation or pollutants management. We're talking about all of these things, anything around, helping us grow food better, quicker, in the safest way for the planet and its inhabitants. And these are strongly linked to the SDGs, and you'll see that on the next slide. The one I love as well is around good health. I mean, the question that I'd have for the audience and maybe for the team here is, where are we with personalized and nutritious food systems? Are they really that far away from us now? Is this something that we can think about that is around the corner, and certainly an area where deep tech can support to find interesting technologies? And that's all around the good health pillar. And then the third pillar is another one I love. In fact, I love all three pillars. The third pillar is also fantastic. It's this transparency from seed to fridge. So let me give you an example there. I mean, how do I know as a consumer when I walk into the supermarket where my carrots or where my tomatoes have come from? How do I know as a consumer when I'm purchasing something in my market on a Wednesday in France? I'm going to a wholesaler as a retailer. How do I know the genetics of my food? How do I know the seed? How do I know what's being used through that crop life cycle? And so that's really around gathering that data, analyzing, using that data, finding technologies to do that, to really deliver value and transparency from the seed to the fridge. So the three main pillars this year, I think, are absolutely fantastic and really fit in with the direction that Phil mentioned in the beginning of the talk. I'm going to take one question now. I saw Madalena. Hi, Madalena. I saw you had a question which I copied into the question chat only to help me not forget it. So your question was around in which prototype phases. So do you accept applications which are in the prototype phase is your specific question. Clear answer is yes. Now you'll recall a slide from Phil briefly with a lot of logos on it. A number of those collaborations with those companies were with technologies on that slide, were with technologies that were in the prototype phase. And there's a large number of collaborations which weren't on that slide that are in the prototype phase. So in terms of TRL, I think TRLs run from 1 to 9, the technology readiness level. I mean, TRLs around the 2 to 5, 2 to 6, I think are a great way to look at that. And I hope that answers your question, Madalena. So I'm going to move on to the next slide because I really want to drive home this message of the SDGs. I mean, everything we're doing in innovation is an investment in sustainability. And I really want to just highlight the SDGs, which we can see on this screen. We've seen them before. Agriculture has a very, very important role here to play, and it's certainly part of the solution on how we can reach these goals. And I'll move on to the next slide. So this is what's going to happen. We'll see the timeline afterwards. But working with Hello Tomorrow, and we're really pleased to be working with them again this year. The opportunity is to really win a chance to co-create. We have a number of things in our number of tools in our Open Innovation Toolbox, which go from co-development to equity participation, supplier relationship. We have our Open Innovation Platform, and this is what you're looking to win from the challenge. Is also the possibility to prototype in a common project, access the infrastructure that we have at Bayer Crop Science, and also our very wide network of experts. And we feel that could really help you boost your development, your industrialization, your technology, your prototyping, your improvements, your adaptations, your pivoting. It could really help you boost where you're going with your technology. And of course, Phil and I, without any question, we're very happy to have a dedicated point of contact with a go, no go upgrade to next phase, something which we're really pleased to do. And then also, Hello Tomorrow have been exceptionally kind again to us, and there's a full pass for the winners to the Hello Tomorrow Global Summit, which is in December. Access to the keynotes, masterclass, networking, showcases, pitches, etc., etc., etc. That will be held at the beginning of December, Arno. I think it's the 2nd of December, if I'm not mistaken. this year.
Yeah, second and third, yes.
Sorry, Arnold?
Indeed, second and third. And the day before, on the first, they can meet investors. So we might be happy to help with that too.
Thank you, Arno. So that's what you're playing to win. And then I'll move to the next slide, and then we'll see if we can't take a look at some of the questions and the chat after as well. So where are we today? We're on the right-hand side, July 13th. This is the webinar. So really a chance to discuss about the topics, eligibility criteria. So questions are welcome. I can see the questions are filling up now. Applications will close on the 22nd of August. So for everyone who's not in France, and this is a running gag between myself and Phil, everyone who's not in France shouldn't be a problem. Everyone who's in France, there's still time before you go on holiday to get your application in. We'll announce the finalists. Hello Tomorrow will announce the finalists on September 27th. After we've been through the jury selection process internally here at BioCrop Science. We'll then go through pitching reviews, and there'll also be some support from my side and from our experts in preparing the final pitch, which will be a similar format to last year. It will be a hybrid event broadcast from our Life Hub in Lyon. In a hybrid way, and we'll also support you preparing the pitches with a 1-hour call to make sure those key messages are coming across, the ones which we really want to hear. And then, as with last year, the jury will be present for the challenge final, and there will be decision live during the event on the finalists, and we'll announce the winners live on the event, just as we did last year. On October 12th. So really excited to see your applications, and I hope that they're a lovely clear timeline there and great expectations on how this will end. So sort of looking over to the right hand before I move further, I'm just going to take a look at what questions we've got, and I'm going to do them in sort of order here. So from Rajiv. Rajiv, you're asking, the reduction in greenhouse gas is by innovative biostimulants and reduction in fertilizer use. So the reduction in GHGs could be from, yes, innovative biostimulants and or a reduction in fertilizer use. So it's not really an and question. It's definitely an and or reduction in fertilizer use. Just to give you one example, and maybe Phil, you might like to speak about a collaboration that we have. I believe it's with Join Bio on reduction of greenhouse gases and fertilizer use. Would you like to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So the Join Bio partnership actually falls into that joint venture category from the slide that I showed. A new company that we founded along with our partners, Ginkgo Bioworks, which is focused on exactly that. Is the novel use of sort of biological products to replace fertilizers and give a slightly different sort of profile to that type of product going forward. So yes, I think couldn't agree more with Simon. I think that the best part about having those large commitments that we've made, it gives us a lot of latitude to think about the technologies that we need, and it's very clear that opportunities of that scale will require a multitude of technologies along the value chain, and so definitely an and situation as Simon calls out. So couldn't agree more.
Thank you, Phil. And then there's another question here from Niamat. Hi, Niamat. How are you doing? Niamat's question is around transparency and traceability in livestock, or just primary agriculture. So in this example, Niamat, I'm afraid to say we're really focusing on primary agriculture here, so that we don't have that livestock focus in this challenge. Is that correct, Phil?
Yeah.
Thank you, Niamat, for your question. And then there's a question from Merle. So what's your thought on PTI, so Produce Traceability Initiative in the US? So I'm going to look kindly at Phil or Raphael or Arnold. Have a look at Raphael. So I don't have any thoughts on the PTI, the Produce Traceability Initiative in the US. I'm not aware of it. So I'm going to see if anyone else has any thoughts on the call.
Yeah, I don't know if Raphael does, but it squarely falls into the bucket of things that I don't know about, but I would know who to ask. So I'm more than happy to follow up on that and maybe come back with an answer, but I'm not aware of that specific initiative. Sorry.
Apologies, Merle, for that one. So And then there's a question moved up here from Luis. So Luis, this is really a question on process, or maybe Marwan, if he's here, or Arno might be able to help here. So on submitting.
I mean, I can answer. Those are two different challenges. So both are related to Hello Tomorrow and Bayer Crop Science, but one of them is really alongside the Hello Tomorrow challenge. So it's a kind of broad challenge alongside the Hello Tomorrow challenge, and this other one that we are talking about right now is really dedicated to fostering business relations between you basically and Bayer. So it's not so much related to the Hello Tomorrow challenge. So the quick answer is, even though you tick the box, you should apply also to this challenge because it's a different one. That's basically so far a very efficient way we found to connect you guys and not only guys and girls to our corporate partners, because it's around a clear business topic that we defined. So here with Bayer. So if you want to get a chance to engage with Bayer, to work with them, to do business with them, you should definitely apply to this challenge also.
Thank you, Arno. And I think that answers your question, Lewis. And you've got the timeline on the screen in front of you. So get that application in before the 22nd of August. So it's midnight on the Sunday, the 22nd of August. Okay, so we've got a couple of slides left on our track record on open innovation. I think this is a fantastic opportunity to talk about some of the collaborations that we've done with startups, with companies in the past, and really to demonstrate our track record. I'm going to see if I can get Raphael into the conversation, and maybe Raphael would be interested to tell the audience a little bit about some of the collaborations we've done in the past, maybe some of the different types of collaborations we do.
Can you hear me well, Simon?
Perfectly, thank you.
Okay, yeah. In terms of collaboration, what we would like to underline here is that there is no stereotype for a collaboration. I mean, collaboration can go from bilateral collaborations to multilateral collaboration. It could go with a startup, with a competitors, another multinational. So we are open to any kind of collaboration, and there is not one-fits-all collaboration. So I think the best is to come from the proposal and to look within our toolbox and to see what would be the best format for the collaborations. So it will be too long to explain all the collaborations we have, but the message is that we have all kinds of possibilities in terms of format. So simply do not hesitate to approach us. Whatever the size, the magnitude, and the frame of the collaboration, same is applying for the geographies. I mean, there is no limitation in terms of geographies, in terms of technologies. It could also deal with enablers and enabling technology that could serve multiple technologies. So simply just come, apply, and we'll certainly find the right format and the right place to assess this collaboration.
Thank you, Raphael, and you've summed up really well this slide for me. Thank you for doing that. And it's really about us reaching out to the world's most creative and innovative minds. That's what we're really looking for. And while I'm looking at the questions here, there's a couple more that have just popped in. And I'm going to take the question first from Akanksha. And it's around algal technologies for sustainable agriculture. So examples of past collaborations or existing ones. So nothing comes to my mind in terms of algal technologies. However, I'll give you my personal view. And my personal view is in the future, algal technologies could be a fantastic source of proteins or carbohydrates in the future. It could be a fantastic source of nutrition. And personally, I like sushi very much.
And also,
oh, go ahead, Raphael, sorry.
Yeah, also, Simon, we have initiatives around protein. So I think it could match within this scope as well. So you can have different ways to use algal technologies, either from a protein perspective or from a biostimulant perspective, could be linked to a biologics crop protection aspect or more nutritional aspect. So here, let's see, we have to see of the profile of the algal.
Anything to add there, Phil?
Yeah, only that as Legacy Monsanto, some years back we had a couple of collaborations with algal companies, but that was actually more about gene discovery and understanding sort of pathways as a model system to apply for our row crop work. But it was always an interesting opportunity. And I think it's somewhat matured now and is coming full circle back to a different type of partnership that could be in place going forward.
Thank you, Phil. And there's another question just popped up from Vinicius Strasburger around intellectual property. I love the IP question. This is always a fantastic one to take. So yes is the short answer. Yes, the intellectual property is safe of your startup. Raphael's already described very clearly, we don't have a one-size-fits-all. We have a toolbox of how we make collaborations. And as Phil mentioned at the beginning, we always try to find that win-win position. So it's definitely safe, Vinicius. There's no worries there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next slide, and just to say a few words on where we're situated. This is always a fun one, because Raphael's mentioned that we're truly geography agnostic, and you'll see from this slide where our major R&D centers are found, and you'll see that they're truly represented across the global geography, and you'll see where Phil sat in North America. We have a site as well in the West Coast of America. Latin America is represented. Germany, Asia Pacific is represented by two sites in Singapore and in Beijing, and of course you'll see Lyon in the center there. Not because Lyon is the center of the world, but because Lyon is a fantastic city to be in, and so I'm really happy to be situated in Lyon, where I'm broadcasting from today. So really that's what we've got in terms of content on the slides. I'm just going to see if there are any more questions, or open the floor to Phil and Raphael if you have any further comments or anything you'd like to add.
No, I think you covered the challenge really well, Simon. Thank you. And just obviously very willing to take any questions. I don't know if we can open the audio up or continue to use the chat. And if not now, Simon and I are available and are very happy to connect at any time, while the challenge is open. And Raphael too, I'm sure. But appreciate the opportunity to have the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And linked to this comment regarding IP, I think that's very important that here again we have all solutions, especially for startups. We are fully aware that, of course, the IP is a key component for any startup. So this is well understood. And if we consider public-private partnership, of course, this is different setup in terms of IP, but there is no doubt that we have solutions. Yeah. And linked to the PTI question that we had before, maybe it's linked to blockchain initiatives in US for traceability that we have, for example, for cotton. And I know that in cotton, we have specifically blockchain initiative links to the industry players for downstream activities. And this is maybe the question was related to these specific activities. But in terms of traceability, no doubt that blockchain and any downstream activities are important in the future, especially linked to sustainability aspects as well. So this is certainly something that is interesting to consider as well.
Thank you, Raphael.
Yeah.
So Simon, there's a follow-up question around the sort of IP from Rajiv, maybe to comment on around data confidentiality as part of the submission process. My suggestion there would be to, even though we obviously will maintain confidentiality of what we receive through this process, my suggestion to you would be to consider the application itself non-confidential. There's no formal agreement in place as part of that, and really, we use the submissions that come in through the Hello Tomorrow team to think about where we want to take that next step. So my recommendation would be, don't consider it confidential, even though we will. We won't be broadcasting it or anything, but I think if we want to enable, a confidentiality agreement, that might be the first step after the submission, as we look towards selecting finalists and winners. So even though it's obviously our intention to keep this to ourselves, this is our challenge. My recommendation would be not to consider the submission confidential. I don't know, Simon, if you would agree with that.
Absolutely agree with your recommendation, Phil. Absolutely aligned. Thank you, Rajiv.
Yeah, no, appreciate the probing there, because I think this is really important to be clear about.
Yeah, and then maybe just to say a few words again about the event that we'll have, the challenge, the event in the finals. I mean, we had a fantastic event last year. It's available on YouTube. Maybe that we can put the link in the chat for those that are interested. I don't know if that's possible. I can
do it.
Or I can try and do it whilst talking. But really, the format was. The format worked really well, and last year, and we're going to do the same this year, is we open the call to all internal employees in biocrop science, and we opened the call to external colleagues, friends. So the call was absolutely open to externals and internals, and it was a great opportunity as well. I know some of the startups, I got to know them during the process and during the preparation for the event. And I know they used it as an opportunity to invite some of their sponsors, some potential investors. And so it worked fantastically in the sense that having the call open and transparent, it was a really great decision. And we plan to do the same this year. And really have that challenge final event again open to internal, so internal buyer and then externals from buyer, so you guys and your investors and your colleagues and your family, your mums, your dads, your sisters, if you choose, to get them come and watch you pitch. And I think that was one of the real successes from the last year's event. And again, we ran that hybrid. We had Vincent and Chloe, so we had the Hello Tomorrow team down in Lyon, and then we had the cameras going. And that was a really good event, and really appreciated it. And then especially from the winners last year, so we had extensive conversations with a number of winners, and also we're in discussions around a specific collaboration with some of the finalists as well. So I'm going to be really happy to be able to disclose more details once we get all of that wrapped up and finalized. But that's definitely another success from last year, and you'll hear more about that as we move forward in time, and definitely through the Hello Tomorrow channels.
And Simon, maybe I have a question for you, because that's maybe a question that the startups here might have. So to get to the final, they need to be selected. And what would be your criteria or your selection process to get there? And maybe how many startups you plan to invite to the finals, and then hopefully to work with?
Yeah. Great question, Arno. So if I take the last question first, I mean, the idea would be this 6 to 8. There's no specific number. At the moment, there's no goal to reach, but it's this sort of 6 to 8. And how will we evaluate the startups? And it's going to be technology first. What's the technology? What's the value proposition? How does it generate value? They're going to be some of the most important parts of it, and really a big focus on technology. I don't know, Phil, if you've got anything else to add to that.
No, that sounds great, Simon. I think it's we have to think about it in terms of that alignment with where we're going, and but also thinking about where an interaction could really help us stretch our boundaries and get into some new spaces and some new avenues of research. So it's really hard to kind of really nail it down. It's the problem with having a bunch of scientists do this type of work, right? We get excited about pretty much everything.
Yeah, we do. That's true.
And I have another question. I saw that one of the possible outcomes from the startup would be that a buyer would invest in. So I guess it's. Do you have a corporate venture arm? How would that be? So is it another team? I guess maybe you can clarify a little bit.
Phil, do you want to take that one, or shall I?
I was going to see if Raphael wanted to take that one, but I'm happy to if he doesn't.
No, I think that linked to this question, again, the answer is that there are many possibilities. I mean, we can incubate the startup in our life hub in different life hubs in the world. We could also consider a specific partnership, bilateral partnership, but we could also place the project of the startup in the context of LIPS, that is in the middle of the columns here. This LIPS by Bayer is investing in different breakthrough platform for life science technologies. So I mean, it depends, of course, on the prototype. It depends on the stage of the startup's development, but here again, everything is possible with Bayer, but also with other partners. Why not?
Thanks. Thank you, Raphael.
And yeah, just maybe one additional word on this aspect. We are also linked to some venture capitals. So Bayer can take some shares in the companies. They can also own the companies, and we can partner with the companies. So we have plenty of possibilities here. But of course, it's linked to the due diligence and the clear assessment of the status of the startup and the expectations.
And maybe to build on Raphael, going to the other scale, we also do, just to give us some concrete examples, we also do collaborations where we build technology together. We work together to build the first prototype and to look at that and see how that works and give feedback on that. And we've got some specific examples as well around the other scale of perhaps smaller, but still equally important collaborations with our partners.
Yeah, especially in terms of development. Usually one of the most difficult stage for a startup is to scale up. I mean, they can have a disruptive technology, but then it's extremely important to partner with a big company, let's say, to have the magnitude of investments and to reach the scale, and also to access the know-how on the development phases. That is usually one of the major hurdles for the startup. So let's say once the startup is reaching a specific milestone, this is where usually you need to partner with a big company to get access to resources, to get access to know-how, to networks and marketing networks. And this is where the partnering usually is happening.
And do you have an example, without sharing confidential details, but do you have an example of a collaboration that started in the past, so that you can have them maybe project in the future with you?
Okay, you can take an easy one, and the most obvious one with the COVID situation. I mean, Bayer had the Cureva, the German company, the biotech company, develop a mRNA vaccine, right? But to scale up and to produce this vaccine component, then each startup had to partner with a big company. BioNTech partnered with Pfizer, Bayer, Cureva partnered with Bayer. And so this is the most obvious example that I can share today, that is publicly known. I don't know, Simon or Phil, if you had other ideas in mind that could be shared today.
I mean, I'll share one. It's a nice one. It's a deep tech startup we collaborated with last year called Kibotics. And they have artificial intelligence. This is very core by a crop science business. They have artificial intelligence to improve chemical reactions. And the great storyline there is deep tech startup. They had an early stage. They were in the early stages of their TRL, and yep, we collaborated with them to use their technology. And I think that's a nice example because it comes from the Hello Tomorrow network as well.
Great, thanks.
Okay, so I'm just going to look and see if there's any more questions or any more chat. Okay, so Seda, and please forgive me, Seda, if that's the wrong pronunciation. So Seda, you're developing a solution to monitor the quality status of fresh produce. This sounds exciting already, Phil. For example, apples and pears in a controlled atmosphere. And you are developing a decision-making tool to facilitate better storage management and sales strategies. Are we interested in such an application?
Yes. I mean, that's the problem, right? There's almost nothing you could put in there that the answer wouldn't be yes. But what excites me about your question, Seda, is really the fact that not only is it a very focused with the apples and pears, but a lot of different things have to go through controlled atmosphere storage, whether it's fruit and veg, whether it's row crops. There's decision making to be made in a number of avenues. So this to me looks like a very exciting possibility or technology, really from the perspective of where else could someone like Bayer help you think about applying it, across our business. So yes, very exciting, very pertinent to the discussion here.
And absolutely agree, Phil. And for me, this sort of fits in this very long road from seed to fridge. And let's be sure there isn't one thing that's going to be able to bridge that entire process. It's going to be a number of solutions feeding along the way, and absolutely being able to monitor the quality of fresh produce before that gets passed on to the next team or the next company in that logistics chain is certainly of interest, exceptionally for that transparency challenge that we have now on this slide. So maybe just to remind you then, sort of yep. So yeah, just to remind you on the challenge topics, I think that's a great segue there from Seda. This is what we're looking for, really around consumer. So just to go through it, safeguarding the planets and its inhabitants. It's around good health and personalized nutrition. And of course, we've just discussed it, transparency from seed to fridge. That's what we're really looking forward to. Get your applications in before the deadline on the 22nd of August. Phil and I and the expert teams really excited to be able to review them and then get back to you and to contact you and to get you in the finals. And then really excited to see what steps we can take moving forward from the toolbox of potential collaborations that you've heard from today from our side. So from my side, much appreciated the time that you've spent with us today. Much appreciated taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us. Yeah, I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank Arno and the Hello Tomorrow team for your consistent and excellent support in everything we do. Really enjoy working with you guys. I'd love to thank Phil and Raphael as well for joining today and supporting me and the team to present this challenge, present this webinar. I don't know, Arno, any closing words from your side?
No, thank you, Simon. Yeah, I think I'm just encouraging everybody here to apply. I think it's a great opportunity to get one of the, leading industrials in the sector as a partner or as a client. So this is quite unique, and we of course want to play the role of as a trusted third party. So if you have also any question, any doubt that you didn't dare to ask Simon or Phil or Raphael, you can ask us, and we will help. And yes, we are here to help you guys working together and go to the market together. So we hope to hear even more great success stories as the one you shared with Scobotics, and hopefully you will talk about some people that are here next year.
Thank you, Arno. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you, Simon.
Thank you.
Merci. Bonne soirée. Thank you, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.